This week on ANN, the Adventist Church and ADRA respond to the conflict in Eastern Europe.
We sit down with Director of Emergency Management for ADRA International, Mario Oliveira, to see how members can help citizens of Ukraine.
And later, flooding in Australia impacts churches and schools.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, this week the world watched as the Russian military invaded neighboring Ukraine, causing loss of life and more than 600,000 refugees flee the country.
President of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church, Ted N.C. Wilson, shared a message on Thursday asking all members to pray for our brothers and sisters in that part of the world.
He said in part, "The challenges that come with open conflict are horrendous. We have thousands of members in that region of the world. They need our prayers and support in every possible way. Please keep them and their families in your prayers as we pray for peace in this world so that the three angels' messages can go to every home and heart in these last days of Earth's history."
The Adventist Church and ANN will continue to give daily updates from Hope Channel, Ukraine, and ADRA. You can find these updates as well as more information in Wilson's full statement on adventist.news as well as facebook.com/The Adventist Church.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, is scaling up operations to deploy humanitarian assistance for children and families displaced by the war in Ukraine. The relief agency has launched a fundraising campaign to programs for refugees from Ukraine and other global communities. According to the United Nations, more than 600,000 Ukrainians have been forced to flee their homes. More than 5 million people are expected to seek refuge in other countries, including the U.S. In a statement last week, Michael Kruger, president of ADRA International, said, "ADRA calls for peace and the protection of the millions of people impacted by the crisis in Ukraine. Join us in prayer for the safety and well-being of tens of thousands of children and families who are in harm's way, are and will be displaced. We are taking measures to ensure the protection of our staff on the ground and working with trusted partners and the Adventist Church to ensure our humanitarian aid can quickly reach those in need." We sat down with Director of Emergency Management, Mario Oliveira, to talk about what ADRA is doing to help those displaced by the conflict and how you can help their humanitarian efforts.
Hi, Mario. Thank you so much for joining us today on ANN Video. I'm so happy to have you here. I know you guys are so busy, but we're so happy to have you talk to us about the situation in Eastern Europe and Ukraine. Mario, I guess my first question would be, could you tell our viewers a little bit about what is happening right now in the Ukraine and the surrounding countries?
Hi, Jennifer. It's a pleasure for having me in your studio. And the situation is changing so rapidly that the information that I can provide you now in a couple of hours, it's outdated. Basically, let's say that the east of Ukraine is impossible for us as ADRA humanitarian agency to work. The security situation doesn't allow the humanitarian workers, the ADRA employees to go out and to do the work that we are doing. So we suspended since Friday all activities in the eastern part of Ukraine. On the west part, it's where we have the huge influx of refugees fleeing, especially for Poland. It's the main country receiving the most refugees from Ukraine. But there is also a couple of other countries. There is Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania in the south, and also Moldova. So these are the countries where we are very active. In Poland, we have deployed a team that they will be in place tomorrow. So coming from Australia, from Germany, from India, in order to raise the capacity, the response that ADRA Poland has to face this huge influx of refugees. At the same time, in the southern border with Romania, we have a strong office, ADRA Romania, and they are doing extraordinary work, not only to receive refugees. We have a strong church in this area, and they are providing shelter in youth camps, in schools, and it's fantastic the work that have been putting in place to receive and to support these refugees. At the same time, they did it during this last weekend, a humanitarian convoy. They went until Kiev, and they distributed food, linens, mattresses, and other humanitarian items, donations. So it was a 48 hours travel going forth, but now the situation is getting worse. It's not possible. In Romania, in Ukraine itself, we are organizing the activity, especially in two towns in the south and near the border with Romania. One is Chernivici and the other is Mukachevo. So we have staff there, ADRA staff. The country director of ADRA Ukraine is based in Mukachevo, and we have a team, ADRA Carpathia, and we are coordinating how we can support the population and especially the IDPs that are fleeing the country towards these three countries that I mentioned, Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania. So this is in a nutshell the activities that we have been involved.
Yeah, I know as a global church, we're praying for all of the workers, the humanitarian agency workers. I know it's hard with the situation changing so quickly. I'm sure it's hard to tell me what your plans are. I know you're in meetings all the time, or what you could be doing. So I would like to ask, the questions that we get from our members. They want to know how they can help, how they can support you, how they can be there for ADRA, how they can be there for the people of Ukraine, and even, and of Russia, because everybody right now, of the people that you were talking to, these other countries are receiving all these different people. So if you could say to our members, how can we help? How can we support you? What would you say to us?
I think first and foremost is through prayers. Prayers for the people that are fleeing, prayers for the leaders of the countries to be wise in the peace talking that they are having. I think prayer, we need lots of prayer now. You can help also sharing what ADRA and others NGOs are doing in the country and outside. You can go to adra.org and see, or in the social media, Instagram, Facebook, and others social media. So sharing what we are doing. And of course, it's very important to pray, but it's also important to support the work that is done in a tangible way, which is through donations. So adra.org/help now is a special campaign that we, ADRA International, we put in place in order to support the work that is done in these countries. We are not accepting in-kind donations, because to send food or shelter or whatever, or tarps from here to those countries, it will cost a lot, it will take so long. So it's much easier, cheaper, and quicker and effective to buy directly in place and to support. This is another of the aspects that we are doing more and more, is giving cash or vouchers to the refugees in order for themselves to decide what they need. Because for one family, they might need food. For other family, it might need the diapers for the kids. Another can be to buy medicine. So giving money, we give them autonomy, or at the same time dignity. And it's not only ADRA International, but several NGOs. We support more and more the refugees through the cash and voucher assistance. We call this a CVA. So you can support ADRA through these different ways.
Yeah. Mario, I don't want to keep you, so I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for what you're telling us. I want to thank ADRA for keeping the world updated on what you're doing and for your amazing work, not only in Ukraine, but everywhere. So thank you, Mario, for your time, and thank you for being with us. And if anybody wants to know and keep up with these stories on a regular basis, adra.org keeps everybody updated through their press releases. And that's where also you can find information about how to help in ADRA, so adra.org. Thank you, Mario, for being with us.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me.
ADRA has also joined efforts with Hope Channel International Inc., or HCI, to mobilize relief for the people of Ukraine.
The International Humanitarian Agency of the Seventh-day Adventist Church will work closely with HCI and Hope Channel Ukraine to deliver emergency supplies for displaced families, children, and individuals in the war-torn nation.
President of HCI, Derek Morris, says, "Our team at Hope Channel International Inc. is privileged to partner with ADRA as we deliver packages and messages of hope to our brothers and sisters in Eastern Europe. Thank you for your generous support and continued prayers."
ADRA and HCI have deployed additional emergency personnel to the region to coordinate logistics and purchase supplies, including food, hygiene items, and clothing for displaced people amassing on the border.
ADRA workers, university student volunteers who relocated to area youth camps, and Hope Channel Ukraine staff will help distribute the food and provisions. Hope Channel Ukraine has been part of the global HCI network and broadcasting in the Eastern Europe nations since 2009.
Coming up, Season 6 of Life on the Line from Loma Linda University Health is ready to stream.
But up next, unprecedented flooding in New South Wales and Queensland, Australia, impact Adventist churches and schools.
Hi, VL. How are you? Are you okay? Dear VL, I can't even remember how long we've been staying at home now because of this virus. For now, it's just nice to hear your voice and see your face. Nothing beats playing outside in the dirt, though. Which reminds me, are your hands clean? Yes! Mommy and Daddy says not a lot of kids get COVID-19, but it's always nice to be extra safe. We should wash our hands before picking our nose. Washing our hands protects us. But it also keeps us from spreading the virus, in case we touch something dirty. Let's always be clean and safe, okay? Love, Joey.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system, the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the seventh-day Sabbath. The first 6 columns of the grid belong to the designer. They can be filled with anything: text, images, illustrations, patterns, and logos. But the 7th column, the Sabbath column, does not belong to them. It is meant to be different and special. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
Extreme rainfall across South Queensland Conference and North New South Wales Conference has seen Adventist churches and schools evacuated and thousands of homes flooded.
With New South Wales Northern Rivers region facing unprecedented flooding, several Adventist-owned buildings have been affected by floodwaters. According to the Northern New South Wales Conference President, Adrian Rathel, the Muriwulumba Church, Tweed Valley Adventist College, and Mulumbimbi Church have parts or all of their buildings underwater, and Blue Hills Adventist College has been closed. In Lismore, the Wilsons River has risen to more than 14 meters, surpassing by more than 2 meters the benchmark set in 1954. Lismore Adventist Church has reported that despite the high water levels in the area, the church building, situated on a hill, hasn't been affected, but waters are lapping at its ADRA thrift store on the lowest part of the church site. The conference is working on releasing an initial amount of more than $21,000 for immediate flood relief for impacted church members.
According to Rathel, the Australian Union Conference will be matching the conference dollar for dollar. He emphasized that this amount is in addition to any support from the state government, ADRA, or any other agency, and the conference is also planning to establish a conference-wide flood appeal for the Northern Rivers region.
In southeast Queensland, up to 18,000 homes had been flooded by Monday morning. In the state's capital, the Brisbane River peaked around more than 3 meters at 9 p.m. February 28. Flood levels in Gympie have peaked at 23 meters, and the town is surrounded by floodwaters that are not expected to recede until Thursday or Friday of this week.
According to South Queensland Conference ADRA Director Irina Pule, ADRA is currently planning a response to Gympie, one of the worst hit areas.
For more information, visit record.adventistchurch.com.
The 6th season of the documentary TV series Life on the Line is now available to stream online through PBS, bringing some of the unseen stories of the pandemic into focus.
This season spotlights Loma Linda University Health, or LLUH, hospitals as they fight the coronavirus pandemic. Real people, doctors, and patients alike search for hope in the midst of COVID-19. In 5 30-minute episodes, Life on the Line presents an inspiring view of the strength and spirit of these people and their stories.
Narrated by award-winning journalist Lisa Ling, each episode follows the experience of doctors and the patients they serve.
During this season, we will meet a non-ICU doctor inundated with COVID-19 patients who tries to restore a pastor to his beloved congregation, an OBGYN doctor on a mission to save an unborn baby and her mother, and a burned-out ICU doctor fighting to stem the tide of coronavirus infections.
President of Loma Linda University Health, Richard Hart, says, "The serious situation we find ourselves in daily saps at our strength, but this season shows how our circumstances do not define our measure of hope and resilience." The series team captured the shockwaves felt in the healthcare world in an impactful, inspiring way unique to other seasons of this show.
The Emmy Award-winning show has aired on hundreds of stations and markets in the United States. You can find more at lifeontheline.tv.
Inside the walls of America's hospitals, doctors are fighting COVID-19.
We coded your mom for half an hour, but she didn't survive. I'm so sorry.
Witness the courageous stories of those on the healthcare front lines as they search for hope in the midst of the pandemic. Life on the Line, an inspiring look into the personal journeys of hope and determination.
Coming up, David Trim is here with This Week in Adventist History.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares a new song this month called "The Desert Taught Me How."
Any idea what time it is?
We really need our sleep.
Are you from? No, we're not from the future, but we know you only pay attention to yourselves, so here we are.
But how? We have no time for that. We have less than 30 seconds.
Fact number 1. Adults need 7 hours of sound, restful sleep to keep their immune systems healthy and to fight viruses. And today, right now, is the single most important thing you can do to keep yourself healthy. What are you doing?
We're just Googling if spicy foods cause hallucinations.
Fact 2. Staring at your phone or your computer right before bed prevents sound sleep. And you'll be tired the next day. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Can we just go to bed, please?
Welcome back.
Every month, Adventist Mission shares a new song that goes along with the theme for that quarter.
This week, they are sharing The Desert Taught Me How by Juan R. Salazar.
Adventist Mission has more.
The sunlight, the poetry and laughter. Hostile is the desert, but somehow I'm not alone.
주 나를 폭풍 속에서 주를 찾게 하시고 광야 가운데서도 함께 하시네.
Immune
Der Lauf in tiefster Finsternis leuchtet deine Liebe wie ein Licht. Tudo é tão difícil, sobram os problemas como uma tormenta sem fim.
والبرية علمتني إن اتكل عليك وشوش يمكن ينسين حتي.
Through the night I hold your hand, knowing you will guide me to your love.
La tormenta es fuerte cuando solo estoy.
Lord, I have learned throughout the storm how to hide myself in you.
Deserto cruel fez que eu aprendesse a ser feliz.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we hear about the history behind some of our Adventist hospitals.
This week in Adventist history, we focus on historic hospitals. On March 1, 1902, Tri-City Sanitarium opened in the city of Moline in the U.S. state of Illinois. The sanitarium became well known for pioneering new treatments of such illnesses as polio and rheumatism. It remained open for 22 years before closing in 1924. Also on March 1, but 46 years later, in 1948, Rangoon Adventist Hospital officially opened in the capital city of what was then known as Burma, today's Myanmar, in the city now known as Yangon. 8 months earlier, in July 1947, a suitable property in Yangon was purchased by the Southern Asia Division with the proceeds of the World Church's 13th Sabbath mission offering. This property was remodeled. Modern hospital equipment was imported, and a 60-bed hospital began operating in December 1947, though it didn't formally open until the following March. Rangoon Adventist Hospital later expanded to be a 115-bed general hospital operated by the Burma Union, but 27 years after it opened, in 1965, it was nationalized by the government. 11 years after it opened, on March 1, 1959, on the Japanese island of Okinawa, the existing Okinawa Mission Clinic became the outpatient section of a new 15-bed hospital. The clinic had opened 6 years earlier in 1953 under the direction of a Japanese Adventist nurse, Toshiko Ishikawa. So successful was it that it quickly evolved into a hospital. Today's Adventist Medical Center Okinawa is a 48-bed hospital operated by the Japan Union Conference, which in 2020 treated more than 40,000 patients. And a year later, March 1, 1960, the groundbreaking ceremony took place for Rumah Sakit Advent, a new Adventist hospital in the city of Bandung on the Indonesian island of Java. The founding of the new hospital owed much to the vision of American medical missionary Dr. Donald N. Holm, who you see here. Holm oversaw all the plans for construction. Today, Rumah Sakit Advent still operates, known in English as Bandung Adventist Hospital. It is a 254-bed hospital that in 2020 treated nearly 55,000 patients. Some Adventist institutions are long-lived, others end up closing, but all contribute to the mission of the church. That was this week in Seventh-day Adventist history.
Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
As you may have noticed, the Adventist Church's YouTube channel was hacked and removed. We are working very hard to recover our channel and all of our videos.
While we are working to get our channel and videos reinstated, we want to ask you to pray. Please pray for the Adventist Church as we work to bring freedom, healing, and hope to a world in need of Jesus. Pray for our humanitarian agency, ADRA International, and all their affiliates. And please pray for peace in Ukraine and Eastern Europe.
We believe Jesus is coming soon. Our YouTube channel has been fully dedicated to sharing his message of hope with the world. We pray we will be back online soon.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 31 and 32.
The passage says, "What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all. How will he not also along with him graciously give us all these things?"
Amen. That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit Adventist.news for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.